Hey guys, Joe to the Gaming Guru here with another build guide for you. Today I'm going to show off one of my Venom builds, just the one I have a lot of fun with. I have S-ranked some missions with. I'll show you some clips. I probably had some B-roll going at the beginning of this video just to show off a little bit of what it can do. It's nothing meta, it's nothing particularly crazy, but it is effective and a lot of fun to play. So I'm going to jump right into it and just give you guys the straight rundown. Make adjustments where you see fit, or if you believe something would be better. I only run it this way because I didn't want to run the dual shotgun meta or whatever meta everyone's running right now. I wanted a medium weight build that use kinetic weapons in order to keep pressure up and break the guard, and then come out with the chainsaw whenever the time was right. So the idea of the build, before I go over the weapons, is to stay within close range for the most part and keep the pressure on with your pistol and your machine gun and your offhand, and you're going to constantly be firing and landing those shots. Once the stagger meter builds up enough to where you feel that your Zimmerman shot will break the guard of your enemy, you'll switch to your Zimmerman and the chainsaw at the same time. Charge the chainsaw as you land that Zimmerman shot for the guard break, and then release the chainsaw. The chainsaw doesn't take long at all to charge, maybe a second at the most. Charge that chainsaw, land the Zimmerman. Once their guard's broken, go in and let that chainsaw just rip them apart. It's a very fun play style. So in the right hand, we have the Ducket pistol. Pretty self-explanatory. It's just the strongest single fire pistol that's in the game. It's got really good impact and can keep building that impact bar or that guard bar up on your enemy, while your machine guns, the Ludlows in the offhand, are keeping that stagger up as well, or keeping the pressure on. As you're closing the gap and landing these shots with the pistol and the machine gun, the Zimmerman is going to be on your right shoulder, and hopefully by the time you've closed that gap and landed enough shots, the stagger bar will be high enough to where you can switch to your Zimmerman and your chainsaw, land that Zimmerman shot while your chainsaw charges, let it go, and rip them apart. Okay, so the Varel headpiece is what we're using. It's just a good overall headpiece with high system recovery, attitude stability, AP. It's a great medium weight headpiece, almost unreplaceable. It's probably the one you want to go with. It's a great headpiece as well as the chest. The chest piece is also awesome. Great stats right down the middle, and works very well with the medium weight build. Most of these parts are interchangeable. Whatever you feel would work better, go with it. This is just what I found works for me. As I always say, make the build your own. On the arms, we're doing the ephemera arms, mostly for the melee specialization. The higher your melee specialization, the more damage you're going to put out with your melee weapons. So this is very, very big with the chainsaw. There are other arms that have more melee specialization. However, I find these to be a little more balanced and easier to use, especially with having higher recoil control and firearm specialization for all the kinetic weapons we're using. The legs, we're doing the bipedal HAL 826. I was using the reverse joint all mine betas, which are fun to use as well, and also very good legs. I just found that the HALs are a little more balanced as far as their defenses and just overall performance goes, and we really don't need the jump because we're not trying to create much distance, we're trying to close the distance. The booster, we're going to run the Alula 21E from Schneider. It's a great booster, and the big thing is it's got really good melee attack thrust. Now the energy consumption for the melee attack is kind of high, but the generator is going to mitigate that. We're not too worried about that. But the melee attack thrust is nice. It's very high, really good stat, and it increases your capability of homing in on enemies and closing that distance for your melee attacks. When you observe this stat when you're equipping a booster and make sure that this stat is high with your melee weapons, you'll notice that, and it's really easy to notice, that the lower values on the melee attack thrust are very detrimental to you closing that gap. But whenever you have higher values on that melee attack thrust, it's night and day difference. It's a huge difference and really helps with if you have just a little bit of a gap to close for melee, especially with the chainsaw, because it naturally does not have a great travel distance, it's huge for that weapon. And the NGI 001s are also very useful. I am not running them simply because the quick boost energy consumption and reload time are pretty high, and we're going to be managing our energy anyways with melee, so we don't need that extra burden, which is why I think the Alulas are probably the best bet to go, because they have enough energy consumption and reload time in order to counteract that energy we're going to be using trying to close the gap for melee and what have you. The targeting system, I'm running the FC006 Abbott. It's a great close range targeting system with a little bit of medium range assist just in case that enemy starts slipping away from you a little bit, but the Talbot is also a good one to use. We're not going to worry about missile lock or multi-lock correction because we're not using missiles with this build, so that stat is irrelevant. The generator is pretty huge. I believe personally the Santai is possibly the best generator for a non-energy build. For a kinetic build, it's amazing. Got max capacity, really high energy charge, and really high supply recovery. I'm not going to worry about post-recovery supply simply because it's not a big deal whenever you have that much capacity and recharge and overall recovery. And energy firearm spec, we're not worried about that as well, simply because we're not using energy weapons. And for a possible trade-off, the Ming Tang is also a good one because it has higher recharge and supply recovery, but you do take a pretty big shot to overall capacity when you're using that. Other than that, I mean, if you want to try a different generator, that's on you. I just personally believe that this one is most likely the best to go with. As far as your expansion, Pulse Armor or Assault Armor, I would say are the best. I like the Pulse Armor because it gives you that opportunity to have some defenses when you need to close that gap and get that shotgun and chainsaw hit off. Other than that though, as I always say, make the build your own, have fun with it. If you want to try the Zimmerman meta build with dual Zimmermans and then another shotgun on your shoulder or what have you, try it, go for it. I'm sure it'll work. This is just what I found to work if you don't want to necessarily run excuse me, that meta build. Yeah, but other than that, if you have any questions or comments, post them below in the comment thread. As I said, I will be putting my Venom code for my Venom decal in the description if you want to make yourself a Venom mech. And outside of that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Pitiful dog. I feel sorry for you. I really do. You may have survived a little longer. Only you had a different master. C1249. He's an independent mercenary who survived first-gen augmentation. Walter, stay away. Good job.
Main system, reactivating combat mode. I've looked into the enemy craft. It's an autonomous PCA craft. Found tails. Pulse armor down. Now's your chance, Raven. I've taken your coastline offline for now. That massive dose of Quorum nearly killed you. Please, you have to focus on weapons. can't take much more. Enemy systems down. It's silent.